Hello, hello. Welcome to 2024, Star Fam. This month, the new moon on January 11th, 2024, takes place in the constellation of Sagittarius. And it comes around January 25th to a full moon in constellation Cancer. And that's reflecting the light from a sun in Capricorn. So I'm going to do things a little differently this video. I don't want to say too much by way of introduction. I want to jump in fast because we're going to take a sort of bonus look at 2024's major transits and get a sense of the main events in the year ahead, and, where they're happening in the sky. So in the interest of time, I just want to say a transit, when we're talking about a transiting planet, we're talking about planets in the heavens, like right now, in real time, through 2024. Where will the planets be and what relationships will they be making to each other? That's what we're talking about. These transits interact with everybody a little bit differently. That's the part of the magic of astrology, how the transits are interacting with a person's natal chart. Depending on your personal astrology, these will definitely reflect some different potentials. But nonetheless, the year looks generally really positive, and basically and generally good. I'm very hesitant to make rosy predictions. So you can see here, and when we get to the end there, the part that would be where November and December are, we'll just move my big head to the other side of the screen. For now, we're looking at only the major planets and the major aspects. And we can see right away that Jupiter is kind of the planet of the year. He's taking part in most of the major aspects. So let's take a look. If we just take it from the top, we have at the very top, this is a little bit less meaningful. The North Node and South Node always more or less oppose each other. But then we have Jupiter sextile to Saturn in January and February. And this is actually a sort of a little bit of a hangover from some contacts that were made in 2023 due to retrograde motion. They'll be swinging into orb of each other again, but they won't really be doing anything dramatic. It could start the year, with echoes of last year. I'll have a little more to say about Jupiter and Saturn later because they square starting in August and then again in December. But probably the main event of 2024, I got to train myself not to say 2023, is the main event of 2024 is probably going to be Jupiter's conjunction to Uranus. And they haven't met since 2011. And this is a combination that really has a lot to say about opportunity. It's a daring, bold, adventurous combination associated with breakthrough and success. It's the kind of energy that makes gains by taking personal risks. And it could trigger a need for personal freedom. This could be a theme of April, a theme of the year generally, personal freedom. This combination has to do with innovation, insight, and intuition. And it has to do with making unexpected gains, just unplanned for and unexpected. Jupiter's action is to benevolently expand things, and Uranus's action is to unexpectedly change things. So Aries and Taurus, where they meet, is about grounded desires. In fact, let's get a let's get a chart up. When we get right to this on April 20th, 2024, and we're going to be looking at the outer wheel here. The inner wheel is just where the planets started the year. The outer wheel is definitely where we'll see Jupiter and Uranus conjoined. And we see them in late Aries. We see them on the border of Aries and Taurus. So this is really resonant with our goals. This is resonant with bigger goals maybe of groups or nations, large groups. Jupiter makes them expanded, and Uranus deals with groups. It's about making the goals real, bringing them into the real world. That's Taurus. And this should be good for many people. Again, it depends on what's activated for you personally. So if you have bodies in late Aries in your natal chart, they'll be highly activated at this time in the month of April. And so will bodies in mid-Libra, right, by opposition. Whatever aspects this is making in your personal chart, this could be shining the light of success, opportunity, and unexpected blessing on what they touch, on what they contact. The next thing that we have going on brings us into May and June, and that's that Jupiter is sextiling Neptune and trining Pluto. And I kind of lump this together because you'll see that Pluto and Neptune make the beginnings of a sextile. So this is all sort of happening around mid-year next year, May, June, and then in August. So we have this summer signature, like summer in the northern hemisphere anyway, of Jupiter and Neptune and Pluto. And the way they look when we line them up is that Pluto's in Capricorn, and let's see, Jupiter will have made his way into Taurus by this time. And as this sextile to Neptune and trine to Pluto is happening, Venus is part of the equation too, and so is the Sun. So we have a lot of benefic energy. We have a lot of benefic energy sort of shining on Pluto and Neptune. And we'll look at Pluto and Neptune as players because they have their own sort of game that they'll be engaging in. Jupiter just sort of touches base here around May, June, and he kind of sweeps through. He's moving quickly, and he just gives them a quick blessing. But when we get down to this August, sextile that Neptune and Pluto are making, we have to look a little deeper. So this contact in 2024 in August is actually representing the beginning of something much longer. So we're going to zoom out here, and I'm going to actually get the whole view available, and you'll see the 2024 here, and this August contact that Neptune and Pluto make is the beginning of a 10-year story, a 10-year dance, and not even that. This combination, it has the longest period of any planetary pair. When you look at Neptune and Pluto, their relationships they last the longest. So in one way, this is like really nothing unusual. 10 years might seem like a long time for a waxing sextile, but due to the way Pluto's elliptical orbit matches up with Neptune's more regular orbit, they've been in and out of sextile since 1945. That's almost 90 years. And almost everyone alive today has Pluto sextile Neptune in their natal chart. It's inclined towards independence with regard to spirituality and people's personal path. It's inclined towards religious, sort of religio-spiritual progressiveness, and it's not that strengthening to orthodoxies. It's less empowering there. It deepens the drive to have mystical or like genuine spiritual experiences, kind of or for by the individuals. A direct connection is what it sort of leans toward. But we've had this for 90 years, right? Like everyone today. I have Pluto sextile Neptune in my natal chart, and this has been a collective destructuring, right, and restructuring of the spiritual values, and the entire next 10 years of this sort of reconstruction phase of the sextile. It will involve Capricorn Pluto and a Pisces Neptune. So that entire 10 years we looked at, that's where those planets will be, Capricorn and Pisces. So this could even signify a new religion, who knows? But more so a new and progressive spiritual understanding, much of which will need to be experientially gained rather than like philosophized about. And we can look to the people who are born in the next 10 years to reinvent mythologies and spiritual frameworks and establish new angles of approach to the infinite. Continue to do that. We can expect to continue to see, as we have since 1945, a reevaluation of all things related to spirit, to spirituality, and to the spiritual. There's one of my least favorite words, spiritual. It really is. It just lacks helpful definition. But that's part of what it is. Part of what the spiritual is. Let's say it's those limitless dimensions of existence that like dream or imagination or story. Those limitless dimensions that they have a transcendental nature that goes beyond philosophy and beyond mere academic approaches, where limited embodied selves meet with the unlimited breadth and depth of consciousness. Consciousness as a pervasive field, right? Like it pervades each cell of our bodies. Just like you don't have to tell your heart to pump. I mean, philosophy can handle Cartesian dualism. I get that. That's not what I'm saying. It's not new or radical to say that we're split between a limited body and a seemingly unlimited spirit, right? The Pluto in Capricorn is the body. That's the discrete, the limited. And Neptune in Pisces is the unlimited spirit. And Pluto's sextile Neptune pushes people towards experiential wisdom, experimentation, right? Towards bridging the discrete and the bounded. That's Capricorn. With the nebulous and the infinite. That's Pisces. So bring your most personal approach to spiritual matters into being, into reality. This kind of personal relationship, that's what this is pushing for. 10 years of this ahead, so tally-ho. Moving to the Jupiter-Saturn square. We see this begin in August too, so coincidental with what we were just talking about, the Neptune-Pluto sextile. Jupiter and Saturn will square their contact. First contact in August leads to a second contact in December, and I have some better information about Jupiter and Saturn too. So I'd like to put that up. I think the third contact is June 15th, 2024. And that on this timeline, we're going from 2011. We're looking at 30 years on this screen of Jupiter Saturn activity. 2024, just to orient everyone, is here, and this is the Jupiter Saturn square in question. So why am I breaking out all this? Well, I'm not going to bore you with it, but it's important to understand these sort of things in context. So squares often indicate an imbalance to be balanced, a sort of equation to be solved, some sort of obstacle to be reconciled before being able to tap into the mighty power that the square also represents. So Taurus and Aquarius, where we find Jupiter and Saturn, and we'll see Saturn here in late Aquarius and Jupiter here in later Taurus. And this brings tidings of stabilizing new systems, stabilizing new structures. Jupiter in Taurus will offer a stabilizing blessing. As Saturn winds down Aquarius, the new ways of thinking and being and the new social structures will sort of be cemented with a blessing. And I feel this is good. Jupiter and Saturn tend to express a lot of dynamic power in square. Like individuals born under this square are really best when the pressure's on. When the stakes are high, they can do really well. So that's the kind of energy that the square represents. Again, like a sort of pressurized problem to solve, but also a great power, like an amazing potential in the square. In clutch situations, you want Jupiter square Saturn people in there, making decisions because they shine when things are difficult. The square, what I was showing you before, the information about 30 years of Jupiter Saturn. There's a 20-year power cycle and financial cycle represented by Jupiter Saturn, and this goes back to their conjunction on December 21st, 2020, when the newly announced financial plan for the future, if you remember, was for the unwashed masses to own nothing. That's in quotes. They'll own nothing. They'll rent everything, and ownership will rest with banks and the elite economic tiers of society. So this waxing square will likely show that's this waxing square in 2024-25 will likely show. Just like the waxing square of a lunar cycle shows the manifestation of the pattern that'll ripen to the fullness, this year we may begin to see emergent new patterns in the structure of power and finance and politics. That's where you see Jupiter Saturn having their influence as they move together in 20-year cycles. It's like if you look back, if you go back to 1980. They met in Virgo, and it marked among other things a shift towards like a credit-based economy from a cash-based economy. And then they met in 2000 again in Taurus. And there's another major cultural shift towards digital and international commerce. These shifts are a lot easier to see in retrospect, but they're built sequentially on one another. So the 2020 conjunction in Capricorn on the Sagittarius cusp will favor internationalism, it'll favor big business, it'll favor multinational corporations, but it'll also favor a balance of liberal and conservative agendas, generally speaking. That's all I really want to say about that. Jupiter and Saturn, they portend changes to the market, changes to the structure of power. And within Jupiter sextile Chiron, that's nice. Great for healing. Great for reconciliation. Great for moving forward through and beyond painful areas or dimensions of our lives. But Pluto makes a sweet trine sextile to the nodes to close out the year, and we don't really need to see what that is. What's important about that? The least confusing thing to say about it is that this is it. It doesn't continue into 2024. It doesn't go for 10 more years. This Pluto trine sextile the nodal axis should help the world catch our balance after whatever happens in the United States relative to the first Pluto return. Because they tend to be splashy. Pluto returns, and the stability of the United States being tested by Pluto can be looked at as like a context for this aspect. So U.S., that's United States of America. If you know, they have their first Pluto return, and it strikes 3 times in 2024. And a lot of people in the sidereal community consider it to be a more important event of the year, even though it isn't. It didn't make this list, because this list is transits for everybody. These will happen regardless of who you are or where you live. I think that's 2024 in a nutshell. I do just want to summarize by saying. I think that we can look forward somewhat hopefully to a year that is the first year that on paper I felt even halfway okay about since about 2018. But we'll see. I won't be that quick to call good year on 2024. I can't. But Jupiter. All right. Well, look at this. I'm going to skip the stellarium, skip the planetarium view and all the 3D stuff I usually do, and I'm gonna hop to the charts right away. So we're looking at the new moon. We're finally here. We're looking at the new moon on January 11th, 2024. Sagittarius is the backdrop. We have the stars of Sag hosting Mars, the new moon, and Pluto. Sag is most resonant with Jupiter, and as stars, it affects planets moving through them with expansive energy, warm, wise, honest energy, it's a region of the sky connected to truth, to faith, to philosophy and religion, big picture stuff, things that expand your mind. But this month, for the new moon, we're T-squared the lunar nodes. I don't draw the aspects to the lunar nodal axis in these charts, but we're T-squared really closely. This square here is 8 arc minutes, 0 degrees 8, and this square here is 0 degrees 48. And we're conjunct Pluto, even if a little widely, and we're square to Eris, station direct. And this signature, everything that's highlighted in red on the screen right now, everything we're talking about, Pluto, new moon, Eris, nodes. This alone is reason to focus on the more complicated and potentially neurotic expression of Sagittarius. Let's just say Sag is a shadow side. Not to mention that Uranus, master of the unexpected, is making a really close trine too. So we have, not that Uranus brings out the shadow side, But Uranus brings out, Uranus could bring out anything. This isn't likely to be our usual trip through Sagittarius, and we'll revisit Sagittarius' balanced and uplifted qualities later in the video. But yeah, don't worry about that. But for now, looking at the Sun and Moon as reflecting more conscious energies, and looking at Pluto as representing unconscious energies. And when I say that, by Pluto being unconscious, I mean they aren't directed by a conscious part of us in any intentional way. They're unconscious, but they have the power, nonetheless, to magnetize situations and people, places, things to us. It can take power in our lives. The nodes being square puts the planets here in this area of the sky. The nodes, anything square to the node. So any planets in this area of the sky too. But there's an empty sky in this chart. So we're focused on Sun, Moon, and Pluto here. And these being square to the nodes puts them in what can feel like a sort of karmic vice. And it can reflect a sort of rift or a split in mundane astrology. This can be cultural division or polarization. It can represent an old way versus a new way split. When you see this sort of signature in natal charts, people in many cases are internally split. They have some sort of secret lives or a hidden component to their lives, an inner schism. It's often not easy at all for people with this aspect to manage their lives. So what sort of shadowy or a neurotic expression is Sagittarius famous for? Zeal. It's a pretty easy answer. Sag tends to produce zealots, like missionaries and priests and people who are so convinced that their way is the right way for everyone that they endeavor to convert total strangers to their dogma. Like unbidden, they'll just meet somebody and be like, well, you need to do things the way I do them, or I might kill you. Make things hard for you if you don't. That Sag has that side. Jeffrey Wolf Green always noted the resonance with snake oil salesmen and silver-tongued devils and charmers with Sagittarius. It's the shadow side of Sag too. So I think the words for a healthy approach to this new moon are sincerity, self-honesty, and certainty. I say sincerity because that counterbalances neurotic tendencies to manipulate or exploit others. And self-honesty because we need to be honest with ourselves. This could highlight for many of us where we aren't doing that, where inwardly we're of two minds, kind of split, quite possibly between the head, that's Virgo, and the heart, that's Pisces. So we have this nodal axis and the classic split. So the balanced side of Sag is aligned with truth, natural law. Yeah, great things, like how things really are, right? Sag is aligned with the shamanic journey of self-discovery, right? The journey of self-reclamation. It's very noble. It's very ideal. It can be wise and true and good. And it can actually be totally aware of its own tendencies towards being a know-it-all. But a Pluto conjunction to the new moon square to the lunar nodes is going to test that natural goodness, test Sag's natural blessing by resonating with division, internal split, right? Possibly pushing things further than their limits want to hold. A great use for this new moon, this Sagittarius new moon, and the whole lunar cycle would be meditation. If you have this skill, this is going to be a really great month to spend some extra time, to really lean in. A lot of that has to do with the Pisces-Virgo axis. This is very left brain, right brain. Right brain, Pisces, left brain, Virgo. And if you know anything about meditation, it starts to weave the hemispheres of the brain together through stimulating neural growth. And there's another journey here relative to meditation, and that's the journey to align the unconscious, right, Pluto, with the conscious mind. Sun and Moon, conscious mind. Pluto, unconscious mind. So when I say aligning the unconscious and the conscious, I just want to make sure to be really clear. It doesn't mean in meditation we're like telling our unconscious what to do or living up to some idealistic fallacy about being in total control. But meditation is just about relaxing with the body's breath, rhythms, and psychologically, it's not about living up to who you want to be. We might want to be in total control, but meditation's about living down to who we really are. And nobody is in total control. I mean, it's just me. People aren't wired that way. We have an unconscious and subconscious component to our psyche. That's hardwired. No one's free of the complications and ramifications of that. So meditation doesn't become a matter of living up to some idealistic standard, some mastermind or master of self-control, but it's about living down to who you really are. Get human, have limits, have issues, have problems. Just meditate with them, breathe with them. That's more healing than trying to drive your conscious mind into your unconscious, trying to permeate it with consciousness. That's just want to make that distinction. Pluto in this lunar cycle is generally going to bring intensity. It's just going to add intensity, really generally speaking. And the full moon here takes place like opposite to Pluto, while the sun is pretty close to Pluto. So this effect of Pluto is going to continue through the whole month. It could be a great time for people who have the skill of meditation to sit with your mind and accept yourselves deeply for your own internal paradoxes, your conflicting desires, your contradictions, right? All this stuff that's symbolized and highlighted now. We don't have to be subject to it, but we can take it to meditation and search out the schisms within and begin to build bridges across them. When we look at the other aspects involving sun and moon, we have a trine to Uranus. Oh man. We have a trine to Uranus in Aries, and that increases tension and the pressure that Pluto generates. Although it could be a blessing in disguise, as Uranus often is, Pluto's often a mixed blessing or a harsh lesson. And Uranus usually reflects unanticipated things. So surprises, the unexpected, random, bizarre, chaotic things, that's going to be par this month. And more so because Sun and Moon are making this sweet, sweet square to Eris, who's with North Node, definitely increasing the wonky qualities of Eris, already wonky, and she's stationed direct. So we need to be aware that feelings, subtle sensations, right, correlate with Pisces, correlate with Aries and the lunar nodes. These are feelings. It's a lunar node. It's a moon function. These may be distorted, and matters of the heart might be wilder or more explosive than usual. Eris, North Node, Chiron, when we add Chiron to the mix, shows a lot of potential to resolve personal darkness that arose out of trauma, being traumatized, perhaps passing that on or projecting it on to everyone. There's great energy here in Pisces around resolution of that kind. If you do that, if you have a cloud of darkness hanging over you from traumatic personal experience, and you know that you tend to project it onto situations around you and people that you interact with, this is a good time. And with the Sag Pisces square, this is a good time. You can incorporate into your meditation, you can incorporate into your prayers or spiritual practice, anything that you do to connect with the bigger picture. You can incorporate this sort of healing, this sort of spiritual healing and resolution. Oh, yeah. One last thing. Saturn's still on Fomalhaut. Look at this guy. Sorry for the lane change. I really don't want to like wax on stuff too long this month because I did want to get that whole 2024 bit in. But Saturn is 1 arc minute, 0 degrees 1 arc minute in the degree of Fomalhaut. I've paid a lot of attention to this recently. But a 1 minute conjunction is very significant. So Saturn on Fomalhaut's going to emphasize the energy of integrity. It's going to energize humanitarianism. It's going to emphasize inclusion. It's going to empower us to organize our actions around those values. And it comes with a very heavy caution against doing anything personally selfish or self-aggrandizing. That's all I'm going to say for now. We'll get back to that maybe a little later. Jupiter trines Mars. This is a very close trine. We don't always pay attention to this, but Jupiter trines are significant. Jupiter's trine is kind of his favorite. It's a special dance move. And Mars is here in Sag, Jupiter's stars, and Jupiter's here in Mars stars of Aries. So I thought that was worth mentioning because it's going to make things fiery, right? It's going to Aries, Jupiter trine Sag Mars is really good for taking action. And you see, when you look, that they're sextiled by Saturn on Fomalhaut. He gets right in the middle there on that Jupiter-Mars midpoint. And he's going to condition these actions, right? The actions that we're empowered to take. Jupiter-Mars very active. He's going to condition actions by offering the potential of downfall or disempowerment if we fail Fomalhaut's test of integrity. And if you aren't aware of what I'm talking about, Fomalhaut's test of integrity, I invite you to familiarize yourself with Bernadette Brady's book of Fixed Stars, what she has to say about Fomalhaut, or watch any of my videos where I mention Fomalhaut, especially Saturn on Fomalhaut. There have been a couple recently. For now, when we look at this chart holistically, when we look at the whole thing, just the chart, we have two major forces at play, and that's the Jupiter, Saturn, Mars. That's encouraging action aligned with integrity, especially non-divisive or inclusive attitudes, and it's going to benefit actions toward the collective. The other force is the force of Sun, Moon, Pluto, Eris, and nodes. And I'll include Chiron in that mix because he's out there. And this is going to emphasize division and polarization, possibly zealous attitudes towards others, thinking that we are better or know better could be possible. You might think it isn't. Now you might think, no, I'm not like that. But it doesn't matter. These two forces at play, the force of action aligned with integrity, and then division and polarization, they're not mutually exclusive. They do stand somewhat at odds to each other, and their influence is really strong. Both influences really strong around that January 11th new moon. So a lot seems to be aligned around taking action, I think the most important thing to hold in our hearts and minds this lunar cycle is to make sure our actions aren't selfish, self-aggrandizing. Make sure no matter what confusion might be, no matter what distortion might be playing a role, that our actions aren't self-serving, but that we infuse them. It's very important this month to infuse our actions with consideration of all, the bigger picture. This looks potentially daunting for anyone acting out of narcissism or self-interest. Could be a bad month. Could be a hard month if we're moving out of those places. But that's all I want to say for now. I'd like to open the chart of the waxing quarter moon, the first quarter moon, and we're here January 18th, and the intention of a waxing quarter is kind of where you begin to see the shape of things emerge. I'm gonna gloss this chart. We'll spend most of the time on the new moon and full moon charts this month, but we do still have Sun conjoined Pluto. We have Moon with Eris. We have Mercury trine Jupiter, and that's sextiled in the same way the Mars-Jupiter formation was for the new moon, for the waxing quarter. A Mercury-Jupiter formation is sextiled by Saturn. We also have a little Venus-Eris trine, very close, and this should soothe some of the bizarre energies released around the new moon. Kind of might start to not be so wonky as Eris goes direct and Venus applies the trine. Emphasis on Sag and Pisces is really, again, sort of religio-spiritual. Jupiter, then, in Aries with Uranus, is they're going to want to move things forward. And Jupiter's now trining Mercury, so there's some motion there. There could be continuing the emphasis on the development of power via ethical means, power with integrity. It's going to be wise, everyone, to keep our minds on integrity and an awareness of being tested. We just have close relationships with a powerful star, and Saturn doesn't really play. He doesn't have a hard time giving harsh lessons. He doesn't have a problem dispensing the harsh lessons of Fomalhaut. So this isn't one to roll the dice on. This is one to put our most forgiving, most inclusive, most broad-minded, and most humanitarian hats on when we make our decisions and organize our strategies for life. All right, that's all I want to say about that. Let's get the full moon up on the screen. Yeah, January 25th, 2024. And we have a Cancer moon, Capricorn sun. Nice strong moon. She's always happy in Cancer. The axis of Cancer and Capricorn is a very good one. It's a very important one. These are really important stars, and they work together. They resonate with the individual journey to take responsibility for our emotional worlds. Responsibility, that's Capricorn. Our emotional worlds, that's Cancer. We can become, in this axis, emotionally mature. That's it, right? Emotions, Cancer. Maturity, Capricorn. We can find ways to integrate our personal self into society, right? Personal self, society. Find a way to gain social or financial value or power, as Capricorn, from the expression of what we care about and our innate skills and beauty. developing internal security. Simple as that, friends. This new moon is about developing internal security, emotional security. Emotional equilibrium. Yeah, that's the idea here. It's sort of all of that. It's this archetypal journey that encompasses all those things and more. But you can trace this full moon back to its origin at the new moon. We still do have like all that neurotic stuff we talked about, and that could potentially express in ways that reflect this axis of Cancer and Capricorn, especially because, and we'll look at this. We'll touch on this. Moon and Pluto are now square the nodes. So that comes with some special cautions. But for now, I just want to say that we all also have the raw new moon energy of Sag available, and the neutral energy of the conjunction with Pluto. And Pluto is the soul. Pluto is the unconscious wants and needs and the evolutionary urges. Sag is truth and philosophy and wisdom, principles, our ideals. So the same new moon that portended the potential for neurosis and division and confusion that we spent all that time on earlier, the January 11th new moon. That same new moon can carry the seed of realization, right? Sagittarius, at the level of profound depth, Pluto, and the reconciliation of paradox. That's a Pluto in the last degree of Sag thing, reconciliation of paradox, as well as paving the way. This all plants the seed of deep truth, right? Pluto, deep Sag, truth, to manifest along this axis. So you have to see this as containing both those potentials, the potential for profound neurotic emotional expression and the potential to deepen our emotional maturity. They're both present there. They're both present there. But the full moon has some other pretty special features, pretty major features. We have the sun conjoined to Pluto, and the moon is opposite Pluto. And sun and moon in contact with Pluto is a real double-edged sword, fam. It brings ferocity, brings intensity, it brings resolve, it brings a certainty to situations, and it brings a desire to penetrate to the truth of matters. But it does increase division between mind and soul. Mind, a sun and moon, and soul, Pluto, a sort of psychic split, symbolic of the opposition that Jupiter on fixed star Hamal, Alpha Aries, might represent. So we had elements of split being defined by the new moon's relationship to the lunar nodes, and now we have the full moon T-squared. Well, at least it's T-squared by Jupiter. That's a really good thing. It's T-squared by Jupiter in Aries on Hamal. So, and Jupiter himself is conditioned by trine to Venus in Sag. She's very happy, and sextile from Fomalhaut Saturn. So there could be a call to action here, or a need to make a stand, right? That's Aries, that's Jupiter. Possibly fight for what we believe in. Could be. Or perhaps instead of individually butting heads with others, it could be that within our personal lives, what gets pitted against each other is our home life, and our work needs. Cancer, Capricorn. What gets pitted against each other is home and work needs. But this antagonism represented by Hamal is conditioned by the general blessings of Venus and Jupiter, and also Saturn on Fomalhaut through the sextiles to Venus and Jupiter. Saturn on Fomalhaut will bring reservation and caution to the more volatile energies of Hamal. And the ruler of Hamal, Mars, makes a 0 degree square, 0 degree square to the healing centaur Chiron. So Mars and Chiron are precisely square for this full moon. It could bring themes of healing and action together. It could help us motivate to face our shadow, reclaim parts of us trapped in a painful past, bring them into the present, to de-traumatize, to heal traumatized places within the psyche. And when we look at this, and when we look at this chart as a whole, I want to keep in mind that when the Moon and Pluto oppose, they both T-square the lunar nodes. So I mentioned that this was a little bit special condition. It's not an amazingly close square. There is a little bit of movement onward from the closest degrees of square. But for this Cancer moon, emotions might be erratic. Just because of Moon opposite Pluto, like never mind the nodes, you know? Highs and lows can happen to anyone. It can happen to anyone around full moon anyway, Pluto or no. Some of us may experience the energy in manic ways and others may feel really low this month, but I think we can all expect some turbulence emotionally. And especially with the main effect of Jupiter squares, that's Jupiter T-squaring the full moon. The main effect of Jupiter squares is to go too far, to take things too far. With Pluto and Sun here, we could take things too far. We could be over-emotional. And I want to encourage everyone to look out for over-emotional manifestations of all kinds in yourself and others. I think that the opportunity to bridge our individual reality with the larger social reality that the Cancer-Capricorn axis represents, to bridge our home life and our work needs and all of the aforementioned dimensions of that balancing act that this axis represents, Cancer-Cap. The opportunity to bridge them is expressed in terms of maybe taking action or risk and maybe taking a stand, maybe taking a chance. But risks might pay off this month for many of us. But we will all benefit from being on guard against emotional flares and explosions and the general intensity. And it could be easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. Fomalhaut Saturn, you actually see in conjunction a moon yod. So the moon could be very driven, but also at times disconnected from the bigger picture. And under this influence, I think it could be easy to take sides, even if we're standing up for a righteous cause or something we really believe in. It could be under the influence of over-emotionality. We could naturally fail to empathize with the other side or remember their basic human experience. And that could be harmful in the long run. With Saturn where it is, that could be a definite no-no right now. There's always a great truth, my friends, a natural truth, and that is that regardless of culture, gender, sex, age, ethnic heritage, whatever, across the entire spectrum, we are always so much more similar than we are different. Always. Genetically, any two human beings, any two, are 99.9% identical. So remember that, right? And act out of that space. A space of gnosis and remembrance that we're all interconnected and that our largest problems are collective. That's where the power and blessing of this full moon rests. Staying conscious of context and not giving in to personal pettiness, no matter how emotionally compelling things might seem this month. And with that, I think it's on to the waning quarter. We have a February 2nd waning quarter moon that's going to reflect the energies of winding down, of preparation, of retrospection. And I'll gloss this as well compared to the new and full moon charts. But we do see a Libra moon, Capricorn, Sun. The moon's opposite Jupiter, and it's also opposite to Uranus in Aries. The inner planets are with Pluto. Yeah. And Pluto's in Capricorn. And it depends on how you do your degrees. Some people would say Pluto's been in Capricorn. Some people say he hasn't there yet, but definitely right on the edge and sneaking in. These calculations, the boundaries of signs, there are cusps and areas between star groups where, it's not important one degree, 1 minute, how you specify things exactly. The main idea is that Pluto is in transition, moving quicker now. And Plutonian influence is going to continue through next month because he's sitting there with all the inner planets. So as the month winds down, we may be able to express ourselves well. We may be able to appreciate other points of view on things and interact well. And we may be able to appreciate our own new experiences if we did take risks and chances this month. I think that it's likely that we'll be communicating well, and we'll be appreciating ourselves for any new endeavors or directions we've set out in. And with that, pichu, the next new moon. Doing a little cheating. Looking forward. This is February 9th, 2024. So this will be the subject of next month's lunar cycle new moon segment. I'm not going to say a lot about it now. I just want everybody to get a glimpse, see what they're winding down to, where this is all going. We're headed towards a Capricorn new moon. The inner planets stacked in rolling conjunction with Pluto. Looks like it could be intense, and it's square Uranus, 1.5 degrees. So this new moon, square Uranus. Let's leave it there. Hey, Star Fam, thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it the old YouTube friendly. And if you like this kind of astrology that uses the live constellations in real sky, join us on Radical Astrology on Facebook. If you have a Facebook account, it's a group on Facebook where you can stay in touch, meet other people, dabblers, students, practitioners. It's a very active group with great content. So thank you, everyone there, especially Maria Schumacher. Thank you for your daily charts and breakdowns. They're brilliant. And thanks absolutely everyone over there. Love you all. I took a little break from my dialogue series, but look for an upcoming dialogue with Julie Sherwood around astrology as medicine, like astrology as a healing modality, a therapeutic modality. We'll get that recorded and published ASAP. Look out. I've been a caretaker for my sweet Sarina while she applies for disability. And if you'd like to support her, she has a GoFundMe. So I'll throw that up on the screen. I mentioned the United States first Pluto return, which happens in 2024. And I shared my thoughts on that in a video that I'll link to at the end. Could be a year of internal division and transformation for the United States. I do natal chart sessions. I do astrology, you may have noticed. Transits, the usual. I apply the logic of evolutionary astrology to charts that reflect the living skies. I invite you to check out my website to learn more. It's oneskyastrology. I wish everyone a good 2024, a great 2024. Bless you and thank you. Stay bright, fam. Ciao for now.